Hello everybody, Scot-sword here and welcome back to another video. And in today's video we are going to be continuing the Analysing Every Move series, where we review and try and analyse all the different moves I make while playing the game. We've got a hunter game here for you, but we're going to do it a little bit differently to the previous one. We're going to do this post-game commentary style. I recorded this game a few weeks ago and actually I haven't got a very good memory of this game, so we're going to watch it. I've got no live commentary involved, it's just the game, sort of the ambient sounds, and I'm going to be talking over the top of it, trying to explain all the moves I'm making, and maybe I'll try to remember what sort of emotions I was feeling at the different points in the game. So without further ado, we'll get started. If you just want to watch the game without any commentary, then the link will be in the description, but it'll just be the game and that's it. Alright, so without further ado, let's get started. If I remember correctly, I'm playing against Skybreaker 96, I think. I might check that in a minute. And I'm just going to do normal setup, nothing unusual. Recently I have been trying to do some different experimentations with setups. When I say recently, this was spring 2023, in case you end up watching this in the future. And, oh right, now I remember, yeah, different setup. This is the original setup that I learned when I joined the community. Now I remember. Yeah. This is I call it the Quincy Morris setup, where you have Mina and Godalming separated. When I play now, I normally have Godalming and Mina together, because I prefer the efficiency of being able to just constantly trade between Mina and Godalming without having to move one of them over. But this way, the advantage of this setup is that you don't know if I'm going to be psychic scanning Germany or Austria-Hungary. I'm just going to pause. I'm going to be pausing quite a lot during this game, sorry. So I've noticed a few things. Firstly, I've got Hypnosis, which is very good. I'm not going to use Hypnosis in the first week. I typically don't do that. I feel like the possibility of getting newspaper reports or hired scouts and then being able to find the location that way is too great. I much prefer using Hypnosis either when Dracula has wolf formed and it is critical for me to find out quickly where Dracula's wolf formed to, or when Dracula goes to sea, and for example, if Dracula, I don't know, say leaves from the South Atlantic and then Dracula moves 3 sea spaces, I need to ascertain pretty quickly with Hypnosis if he's landed on the Italian coast, if it was the Tyrrhenian, or was wolf formed, into Austria-Hungary, or not. That's impossible. Or is it in Italy, right? From the Tyrrhenian, or has gone via Irish Sea into Britain, or has gone North Sea and then gone into Germany, or maybe gone into France if it goes into Brussels that way. So I like to keep Hypnosis for those sort of situations, not in the first week. I've got a fast horse. I can't remember who it was on. I think it was on Godalming, which is good. And I've also got renewed vigor. So as soon as I start getting these really big events early in the game, happy Scot-sword. I've also got a lucky find, which is pretty good. So I have to think about how to trade that around. But I often don't do trades for things like lucky find really early. I wait and see and wait for how the other events and all the items start to develop, and then I'll switch it around. And also because if I did a trade now with Van Helsing, I'd only be able to trade the lucky find. We don't know yet, but maybe in a few turns' time, Van Helsing might get a card that Godalming needs. So then when I do the trade, it's more efficient because I'm trading 2 cards at the same time, not 1. So let's see. Hopefully this won't be too cringy for me. Watching back my previous gameplay, probably not as cringy as me listening to myself talking while I was playing, so hopefully this is fine. When I realised I was going to do a 3rd episode of this, I switched off the mic so I could just have the... Yeah, I don't remember too much about this guy. I remember little bits and pieces. I think I remember how it ends. I don't remember much of the lead up, so we'll see. Got Renewed Vigor, but I'm not going to play it. Renewed Vigor is one of your most powerful cards as the Hunters, so you want to hold it as long as possible. Here I'm ditching the pistol. The reason why is out of the 3 weapons, it's the weakest. It doesn't stop escape bat. I've already got rifle as the anti-claw card, so I don't need a pistol and a rifle. There are times now where I sometimes throw away rifle and keep pistol, so then Dracula doesn't quite know which hunters have pistols and which hunters have rifle. Because I think there are times where having pistol is quite useful, because you can counteract the plotting. It just adds a little bit more diversity. If you just see them always just chucking rifle and pistol into the discard pile, and then you know it's only knives and heavenly host, just having that little bit of diversity can help. It also depends on how the items come out. It just depends. Charted carriage is good, so I can use that to get into the east if my horse economy is not set up in time. Another rifle, that's good, and Sister Agatha. So in a situation like this, I'm going to ally, because searching is pretty much useless. I'm not going to find the location, and evil presence shows nothing, and also because I haven't got surprise and return. If I got surprise and return, I would search, and then use surprise and return to get it back later when I was going to go into a combat, or if I needed to search again. But because there's none of that, I got a white 1, which is really important. So I'm just trying to get. The fact I've already got 1 horse already. I'm trying to prepare all of those things. And another white 1, so that's really good. Unfortunately, Mina doesn't have a horse, which isn't great, but hopefully we can remedy that later on. Oh yeah, I am getting Skybreaker, very good. Yeah, that's the thing with Aggie. Yeah, she's quite a thorn in Dracula's side sometimes, but it just depends. And other times Rufus Smith is more useful, it just depends on the game. I never say no to Aggie when she comes along, but when you're having to choose between Aggie and Rufus, it can be tricky. It just depends on how the game's going. The things with me, because I try to play a style of hunters where I do not do a lot of 1v1 combats, I just try to get maybe a 3v1 or a 4v1 and just kill Dracula in 1 turn, then Aggie for me is not as imperative as for others. Okay, so the reason why I've done here, I drew a horse with Godalming, and he's already got a horse. Now, in the situation if I did my normal setup, and I had Mina in the same space as him, then I would have traded the horses last night, rather than getting the ticket. But now, because I'm throwing away the 2 rifles because I want to keep both horses, and I'm going to have to move Mina across. So I'm only throwing away a rifle there, or 2 rifles, because I got the 2nd horse. Otherwise that wouldn't happen. Got a heavenly host, which is good. Hopefully the video's not too pixelated for you. And now I'm moving Mina across because I need to get those horses set up. And then I can psychic scan and all that good stuff. Let me just check. Is it on the HD? It is, okay. Hopefully it doesn't buffer. We'll see. Okay, so now I'm doing the trade. Very easy choice. They both got a white 1, so this is perfect. Yep, I love knife on Mina. Maybe I'm giving away too many strategies for the tournament, but I feel like knife on Mina is just really, really cool. Having an aggressive counter to Fangs is really good. I mean, obviously, like Garlic and Crucifix is good too, but the fact then you can use knife against other types of encounters like bodyguards and so on, it's really handy. Sometimes I try to sneak like double knife in. If anybody of you watched the previous video I did, I think that was episode 1. A double knife won me the game, so I do like that strategy a lot. But there are times where it doesn't materialize that way because the knives end up on other hunters, so you have to be always prepared as a hunter to not to have the items maybe distributed in a way that you don't like necessarily. I can't remember what I did that was Seward. Did I just throw away a bad ticket? Oh, he has 2 of the same. Okay, right. That went by way too quickly. Yeah. He has 2 of the same, so I get rid of 1. And I'm still... Am I going to trade, or am I going to... I'm having a quick look at events to see if we're full up or not. And because Godalming's full, I'm going to take 1 of these off him. I'm going to take the Lucky Find, because Lucky Find is the one that is the most tradable. Speed, Charted Carriage is still good, because I can use it to get to the east. Okay, not in Austro-Hungary. No real surprise. Dracula wouldn't really risk starting in Austro-Hungary. Maybe started there, turn 1, and then moved out and gone to Baltica. That is the disadvantage with having them split like that. But then you never know, the hunters might move on day 1. But I don't like doing that. I feel like hunters are about efficiency, and I much prefer starting Godalming and Mina together. I then very rarely psychic scan Austro-Hungary because, you know, Dracula's not going to start next to me. But then it means then Dracula can't start an Austro-Hungary, say in 28 or 53, and then move into Baltica. They're forced into Baltica immediately, and that's quite restrictive. Unless you know what you're doing as Dracula, this is quite a restrictive area to work with. I like starting here. Because it could really screw over hunters. So that's interesting. I think I may be making a comment or thinking here, you know, that misdirect actually doesn't give any value. Because the reason why is because if I got newspaper today, that space on the trail would have flipped. But then if I get newspaper tomorrow, the second thing on the trail will now be in the third space by the time I'm supplying again. So this misdirect actually doesn't give any value. If you want to misdirect, then you have to misdirect the next day. So then if the newspapers trigger when something hits the fifth space of the trail. Maybe Dracula's playing it now, so then they don't forget later to do it, which is, you know, completely fine. Absolutely fine. Sometimes in the heat of the moment, I often have plans, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this and this, and then something else happens and you forget. So just to make sure you do the misdirect now so you don't forget, that's fine. But it should have been done the day before. That's all right. It's not compulsory to misdirect first space. There are reasons why it's done, but I can see why some Dracula players do it differently. Double a Garlic Reef, okay, easy choice, just discard one of them. Because Godalming supplies twice as quickly as Mina, I often give the good items to her because he can get them back quicker. I've got a double escape route on Seward, which isn't really great, but that's what it is. I'm dishing the dogs because dogs aren't really big in this meta right now. They only counter certain encounters, and I'd rather have a combat card or a stake. If it means I have, that was a misclick. That was a really bad misclick on my part. So that's a real problem. If we had the live commentary on, I would have been cursing a lot. That was just a really shit misclick. I've got it back now, which is handy, but I've still got to try and find one of those white ones. I'm going to do it with Mina because she's got a horse, so she doesn't need, you know. And the fact is, Mina can have 2 white ones because she has 2 weapons. If I land on a spy and have to discard 1, I've still got a weapon in reserve. So having a horse and 2 weapons, even if the hunter's got 2 white ones, that's actually okay. The problem is when you end up in a situation where you only have 1 conventional weapon, and then you walk onto a spy, and then you go into a really awkward situation. Do I discard this only weapon that I have, or do I have to throw away 2 white ones? Throwing away 1 white one is not great, but you can work around it. But 2 white ones, you're just asking for trouble. If you got like a 1 in 4 chance every time you roll fast horses are going to die, that's really bad. So keep supplying. That's the name of the game. Just keep supplying. Ditching Garlic Reef because it's not very powerful. I'm sorry. I'm going to do that. Great Strength. That's an amazing card. Get rid of Long Night because Long Night's Long Night. I want to have the stake because I haven't got many stakes yet, and I just want to have that. Especially if there's a rumor token to deal with. So having a stake is just, even if it's an aristocratic vampire, it's just a nice, easy way of getting rid of the vampire. You're not even risking getting into fights. I'm ditching Holy Bullets just because Holy Bullets. That's interesting. I've done something a little bit different there. I've got rid of the rifle, so then now I'm obfuscating what my other weapon is. Because revealing I've got a horse, I'm going to reveal them eventually. And now Dracula doesn't know. Did I pick up a second rifle, or have I got something else, like a double knife or heavenly host? So it does, even though I've thrown away a good weapon, my information is more hidden now. And Dracula knowing I've got fast horses isn't really that critical. Like, this Dracula knows I normally go for fast horses. So suddenly saying I've got fast horses on Mina is not really, you know, an immense amount of information. I'd rather reveal fast horses than reveal a weapon. Yeah, Dracula doesn't know if it's the thing I picked up, which is the pistol. It could be a second knife, could be a heavenly host, could be a stake. Could be garlic or something like that. You don't know. Until we enter combat, I have no idea. Or until I reveal it, if it is a steak. So, I think the critical thing here is, like, as hunters, don't panic. This situation doesn't look very good because I've been supplying, and I've only second scanned once. I haven't been moving much, but I haven't found the trail at all. But just don't panic, okay? As hunters, just remember your training. Just keep supplying, and eventually you'll get the cards that you need to win. Okay, so don't. I've got some really good cards in my back pocket. I've got great strength. I've got renewed vigor. I've got hypnosis. There's no need to panic right now. Just stay put. Supply. Yep, if it means you have to discard one good weapon, because if I pick up, say, if I've got knife and a pistol with Mina, and then I get another one or whatever, just get rid of it. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. If you discard one weapon, it's not the end of the world. It's the events that really because they're like one-time uses. So they're the things that you really need to think about, right? If I have to discard something like a second knife or a heavenly host, but it gives me newspaper reports, dream situation, dream scenario. As I don't have newspaper reports now, so I can't reveal it. Well, I don't think I do anyway. No, I don't. Okay, only speed telegraph. So don't panic. Just keep supplying. I'll find the trail eventually. This is a little bit awkward because I've got like 2 stakes, so I'm going to have to get rid of one of them. Now, okay, I realize that is a very controversial decision, that I have ditched a heavenly host for a pistol. Or, yeah, I've favored the pistol over the heavenly host. I can definitely appreciate why other hunters will not do that. I don't for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I don't have consecrated ground, so right now there is not a pressing need to hold on to heavenly hosts. Secondly, heavenly host is only good in combat if I don't get fanged, and also the only encounter card that it is good against is desecrated soil. But having the pistol will help me firstly in combat. Yes, I appreciate it can break, but it can work in combat, and it will help me against most other encounters. It will help against rats, wolves, bodyguards. I can ditch it so to avoid the spy. I don't want to be running around with Godalming with a stake or horse and heavenly host. I know that Godalming is the tank and could maybe take that damage, but I just want to avoid it for now. And the thing is, hopefully, if the game works out the way I want it to, I'll be supplying enough that I could get that heavenly host back later. Right now, I prefer to prioritize conventional weapons over heavenly host. If I had obtained consecrated ground, then maybe my thinking might change slightly. But because I don't sit there every game and think, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna get consecrated ground. No, there are times where I've gone through the whole game and never got it. If I got like halfway through the deck. So it's more at the time what I think is going to be the most useful. And the most useful thing right now to deal with all of this trail is a pistol, not heavenly host. I'd rather have a rifle or rather have a knife, but it is what it is. So don't be afraid to get rid of heavenly hosts. I know other hunters might disagree with that, and that's totally fine. But for me, I feel incredibly nervous when I see hunters, if I'm playing with them or I'm watching their games and they're running around with just a heavenly host, a fast horse, and then something else like a stake. If you've got a conventional weapon and heavenly host, great. No problem. If this stake was another weapon, I would totally ditch the pistol for the heavenly host. But because you've got the stake, and I want to prioritize stakes, because we need to have a stake on the eastern side of the map, because Mina doesn't have one. So if Dracula's starting location was Valona or Varna, we need a stake on this side of the map, and we don't have one yet. So I have to keep the stake, and I am always going to keep fast horses. So then it's either weapon or heavenly host. And for me, weapon, at least in the early game to deal with encounters and such, it is much better. That's purely my opinion, but we'll see. See, if you disagree with me, then feel free to put your comments below and explain why. Sud's got a stake on the western side of the map. I'm going to rail up just because I can. I don't have a conventional weapon, which is really awkward, but I know Sud can heal a little bit better, so hopefully it won't be too critical. And I've got horses on Van Helsing, which is a bit awkward because I don't like Van Helsing having horses. If you want to know why, there's a video in my channel, or on my channel rather, about fast horses. But I can maybe, because Seward's quite close to Van Helsing, maybe I can trade them around. It all just depends. I'm getting rid of Good Luck here because Good Luck isn't really helpful against most things. It's only really useful if Dracula gets like false tip. And the chance of Dracula getting false tip, I mean, possible because there could be a hoax here. But out of all things, I don't think Dracula's going to pick false tip. Dracula will prioritize other cards like Darkness Returns or Summon Storms or whatever. It's not often that Dracula will pick fast tip. And I'm not going to be nice applying, so I won't give him fast tip. And I think Vampire Lair is good because just in case there's a Vampire matures, I can take just a couple of those influence points away. There's only problem when you got a Hunter full like that, you're having to think about it. Discard dogs, that's fine. Okay, still haven't found the location. This happens. Just don't panic about it. They will come eventually. Either that or you can find other ways around it. If Dracula matures the vampire and I find the location where Dracula started, then I can, do things. I can use the hypnosis. But here, I wouldn't use hypnosis. Other hunters would disagree with me. But for me, don't use hypnosis here. I'm just swinging out tickets, trying to get the last one on Gadami, but didn't work. Seward needs a good ticket because he doesn't have horses. I'm going to do a little trade around just to try and free up Van Helsing's hand. Don't need 2 escape routes. So I'll give him Lucky Find. Right, the reason why I'm giving him Lucky Find is because Seward has 2 really disposable items. He has a stake and he has a Holy Circle. So once I've used one of these, I'm going to be an item short, or maybe 2 if I use both. So, but I don't know right now, depending on where Dracula is and how much Seward's going to have to move, is Seward going to have enough time to supply up to get more items? So I can give him the Lucky Find to solve that problem. If I do end up in an unexpected combat with Dracula or with a vampire, I can use Lucky Find as my supply action to get something out of the deck. The fact that all 3 fast horses are out, I'm not going to run the risk of using Lucky Find and suddenly having to choose between a horse and a conventional weapon, or a horse or a heavenly host. I can use Lucky Find to get myself a weapon or a stake or whatever it is I need. So that's why I'm giving it to Seward. The escape route is on Van Helsing. I know Van Helsing's full up on items, or no, on events, but escape route is expendable. I mean, escape route is a good card, but a lot depends on the situation, how well tooled up you are. And if I've got both of them, if need be, then if I have to discard one with Van Helsing, then I'll just take the other one off Seward. I've also got a Good Luck, so maybe I might give the Good Luck to Van Helsing. You see, I'm a little bit indecisive here about what to do. So I think the reason why I've done this is because Van Helsing's probably going to be supplying more likely. He might just stay put in the UK because I don't know where Dracula is. So if Van Helsing might be the one sitting and supplying for a little bit. So I'll give him the free slot. Seward can stay there with those 4. And if Seward does supply and has to get rid of something, fine. I can get rid of Good Luck or get rid of Escape Route. These are event cards which are more expendable. Giving him Renewed Vigor too, because Seward's unlikely to die. He's got a little bit slightly better health pool, and he can heal quicker. So yeah, no sign of newspapers. But again, just don't panic. Don't panic. Just you'll find them. And if it means I have to give up 7 points, alright, I'll give up 7 points. I would be moving around here trying to Psychic Scan, but that would only find Dracula's current location. That won't tell me about where this Rumor token is. And sometimes this will happen, where Dracula just, the deck works in Dracula's favor. But here's the thing. Yeah, I haven't got newspaper, but look at all the other cards I've got. I've got Renewed Vigor. So many games I've had where I've not had Renewed Vigor. I've got Great Strength. I've got all this stuff. I'm moving around a little bit here just because I want to just try and get a little bit of a feel about where Dracula is. I could also stay put. In retrospect, maybe staying put is better, but just in case. I'm just having a little just in case I'm coming across this trail, but like very unlikely. I'm not using any big cards like oh, interesting. I'm not quite sure why I got rid of the pistol there. That does make a lot of sense to me. I think it would be better there to keep the pistol and not the Holy Circle. Because I've got an escape route, so I don't really need a Holy Circle. So surely it would just be better to have the pistol to have a conventional. Not quite sure what my thinking was there, but okay. Planned ambush, good card. Very good card. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what I did here with Godalming and Mina. Maybe I am starting to panic about not being able to find him. But so yeah, maybe I should have just stayed and supplied, because I would have had planned ambush on Seward. I mean, yeah. Try to work out if I want a night supply, but the odds are pretty much even, so I'm not going to do that. I shouldn't get a ticket here, because Seward needs good movement. Yeah, I'm not quite sure why I moved Godalming and Mina. Just to fan them out a little bit. If I discover he was in the east, then Godalming's pretty close. The thing is, if there's a rumor token here and the vampire matures, it clears the trail. So now I'm trading back again between Seward and Van Helsing. Planned ambush on Van Helsing I get because I can trade it to whoever I need it. Vampire Lair I'm going to Seward because if this vampire matures, then I don't need the stake so much, so then Seward can just instantly use Vampire Lair. And then use the lucky find later. Yeah, okay. It's very hard with trading sometimes, you're just trying to constantly preempt what's going to happen. And who's going to need what. And sometimes you just don't know until it happens. And then sometimes you get it spot on, and other times all the hunters have the wrong events, and it's very awkward. The thing is, I've got Speedy Telegraph, so I can use Speedy Telegraph if I need somebody to move in first for a certain situation, then I can do that. Normally Speedy Telegraph is pretty good for things like Hypnosis plays, because then Mina can go first and then all the others can move after. Or you can use Speedy Telegraph if a hunter has forewarned. They can move on to Dracula space first, and if Dracula triggers fog, then you cancel the fog with forewarned, and then everyone else charges in. So let's see, does Skybreaker mature this? I don't remember. I did, okay, so it wasn't a hoax, I got away with one there. Got away with one. Right, am I going to find this rumor token? That's the question. Not at this rate. I was just having a look, because Saphir is a space that Dracula has to move through. But not that, so it looks very unlikely that Dracula's in the east. Trying to do all this stuff without going through Saphir is very difficult. So doing a little trip up to Milan, probably going to Psychic Scan Milan, Psychic Scan Italy, I think, by the looks of it. I'm moving Van Helsing off. I'm not quite sure. I assume because Dracula's not going to the UK. Often what I do is I try to I try to keep Van Helsing on the UK as long as possible to act as a deterrent, because I've had it before where the second Van Helsing leaves, Dracula then jumps to sea and then lands in the UK, and I have to spend the 2 turns trying to get back there once I've realised that's where Dracula's gone. If I get an excellent weather, contrary to what I maybe said in the Hunter event list with Roscoe, I sometimes keep excellent weather and I use it to return to the UK so I can jump on Dracula quickly rather than using it to get to the mainland. So I'm going to do a Psychic Scan of Italy just to see. Problem is that at this rate, unless there was a hide card somewhere, Dracula's out of Italy. So the other Psychic Scan is actually very good. In retrospect, I should have maybe gone to somewhere like Strasbourg to scan France. Ah, okay. Yeah, okay. So this actually... But wait, she's doing it with her turn. Okay, that's strange. I understand why I had to get the ticket with Seward, but then she has a ticket. Okay, so I could have done this in a slightly different order. I could have given Seward could have traded with Mina and taken her ticket so he could move, and they could have swapped items around so they both have a weapon. But then she could psychic scan because I think she's not going to psychic scan now. And I think my intention here was to do a psychic scan. That doesn't make sense to me. I think I've kind of resigned to the fact I'm going to lose 7 points here, and I'm just going to try and set up things to be as optimal as possible so then I can chase Dracula down later. Now, hindsight 2020, you could sit there and go, oh, well, you should have played Hypnosis. Maybe I should have played Hypnosis. But then, this could have still happened and I didn't get a Hypnosis. Or I could have got the Hypnosis and then I got newspaper reports. You know what I mean? This scenario that's happened here is very rare. Games are definitely recoverable. If you lose 7 points early, games are recoverable. It just means you have to be extremely cautious of what you do. Okay, so there's a vampire. And it was a non. So with Seward, I went straight past him. That was very well played on Dracula's part to have avoided things like Bordeaux and Paris. So I assume, I don't know, but I assume what Dracula's done is maybe started in 9. And then, yeah, I've started in Paris or 9, and I can't know where this layer is. Maybe went to 29, which is now a layer, and then went to non. And then went 15, 54, or 24 or something. So Dracula stayed off this rail line, and Seward just dived straight past him. That is a problem, and that's why non is a very good location. So now I'm against it. I've got 7 points. I'm down 7 points. Godalming looks like he's out of position. And now there's another rumour token on the trail. Thankfully, Van Helsing's starting to move over, so now Van Helsing's one turn closer to the action. So we can try and deal with this rumour token. And I'm now having to use chartered carriage to get back into position, whereas if I hadn't moved Godalming over to that side, then I wouldn't have had to use chartered carriage this way. So that's kind of my own downfall. The fact I've wasted 2 turns moving, I'm having to now waste a really powerful movement card to get back just where I started. I'm not actually going anywhere, I'm just going back where I started. So yeah, don't move, people. Should go up to Paris, that's an obvious choice. Even though he's not in Paris right now, I have to try and work out where Dracula's gone next and where the hell this rumour token is. This problem is this rumour token is 3 spaces away from non. And that could be bloody anywhere. We're talking about, was that not a... Yeah, it was non, 1, 2, no, 4 away from non. So it could be as far as like Madrid, say. It could be 1, 2, 3. It could be Munich or Nuremberg. There's so many bloody places this could be in. So maybe this is where I do have to trigger it now. Is that the layer? How did that work? That's the layer, right? Oh no! No! It's Van Helsing moving to Le Havre, right? So it was Le Havre was where he went, right? Yeah. Sorry, spaced out for a second. So now I'm having to make decisions with the spy. Because it's a very good thing to layer, especially if you knew that Van Helsing was going to move there. Do I discard the rifle? I only have the rifle, I've got no other conventional. And based upon my situation right now, Van Helsing is not holding on to white ones. So I feel absolutely totally okay, and I haven't got any like really critical events either. I've got a planned ambush and an escape route. I mean, they both could be good, but they're not like game changing. Not like a consecrate. I'm not revealing consecrated ground or great strength. So actually, not discarding the rifle here, I think, is the right choice. And there's a vampire in the lair. Great. Brilliant. Now, again, this is a very instinctive choice there. Oh yeah, I had to repeat the information because spy appears far too quickly. I could have used escape route, but I've kind of decided that I do not want to use escape route on a vampire that is in a lair that can't mature. And also, I've got Seward right next door, so if Van Helsing does take a little bit of extra damage, Seward's right there to help him double heal. The problem is Van Helsing has no tickets, and until these horses are now set up to be safe, his movement's going to be extremely limited. So my only objective here is to get out of this fight. This vampire's not going to mature. So the interesting thing is now from a Dracula perspective, was it a new vampire that was in Le Havre on the trail, but then didn't mature it because he knew that the aristocratic would mature? Or was it a spy and then put the new vampire on top? I'm trying to remember if Skybreaker told me or not after the game. I'd assume it was the former. It's not often they'd put fighter vampires into layers unless you're expecting to go back to them later and you can double up. So, yeah. I think the new vampire's on the trail first, which is interesting. Interesting strategy. Put two vampires in a row. Put the first one with a rumor token, or the second one with a rumor token, and then you can decide depending on the proximity of the hunters. Do you mature the first one, or do you mature the second? It'd feel bad if you layer the first one and then the hunters get to the second one, so you can decide how the hunters are moving, what you want to do about it. It's kind of intriguing. Yeah, I've got no hired scouts here either this game. No hired scouts, no newspaper. So this is a very odd case. You can see then how I react to it. And I leave, so that's perfect. I took no damage in that fight, so justifies not using the escape route. And now that new vampire is going to sit there in the lair unless Dracula goes back to it. It's never going to reappear. So Mina's obviously going to walk up because we need to do a psychic scan. Or do I? I picked... What am I doing with her? Yeah, she has to go up to Paris, right? You need a psychic scan to see if it's France. If not, then you're going to have to decide, do I commit to Germany and do a psychic scan, or do I commit to Spain and do a psychic scan? The good thing is that Dracula would have had to have gone into Spain via 48. So just by going to 48, I can rule that out. Which I can do. I can do that next turn. Oh, maybe not. 48 might have been cleared because of the vampire from Non. Maybe not then. Did I take a ticket with her? Yeah, must have done. Psychic scan. Isn't in France. Oh, it's in Gallia. Sorry. So yeah. I know then now. It could be Germany or Italy or Spain. Dracula couldn't have gone as far as Austria-Hungary now. Might be in 41 now and is going to move into 44 this turn. But with Kadami right there, that's unlikely. See, I'm trying to think, just by looking at the mouse, I'm just trying to work out how far I can move, so I can only move to 48. Maybe I'm counting the spaces here, that maybe Dracula went to Madrid and 15, 54, 48 got cleared off, because by that time, Seward left Spain, so Spain is really wide open. Again, I'm still trying to hold on to my critical cards. I don't want to play Renewed Vigor right now, if I can really avoid it. Or am I going to do it now? You can tell how much I remember from this game. It's like watching a different player. I do play Renewed Vigor. Okay, this is very much against my instinct. I don't like playing Renewed Vigor in this circumstance. But because I have lost 7 points so early, and there's a rumour token on the trail, I have to find out where this location is. I have to find it. So I'm not quite sure I can't remember what I'm planning to do here. But hopefully this Renewed Vigor won't be wasted. I think this kind of this all strikes to me that I'm panicking a little bit. Yeah, that's referring to the previous combat. Also might have to start using horses as well, just because even though I haven't got all the white ones out, it's a 1 in 11 chance now of losing it. I'm checking Nuremberg. The reason why is because that's the furthest sort of north, well not the furthest north, but that's the furthest east per se that Dracula could be. And then if at 41 appears, then I know that Dracula's then maybe at 44. But it's empty. Now I'm going to do some more moves just to see if Dracula's going around this way in Germany, but it doesn't look like it. Okay, that's not ideal, but I'll ditch the stakes, I don't want a duplicate. I'm not going to rail down to Saragossa. Whew, okay, so depending on just the way that Dracula moved, found him. So, Renewed Vigor was a little bit wasted, and I'll say this now, remember, I was the happiest to see the bats in all my life, even though it's forced me to waste Renewed Vigor. It's actually really well played on Dracula's part, putting a Rumour token down that early again. It's made me waste a Renewed Vigor, but as soon as I saw the bats, I was like, oh, thank goodness, I don't have to do a vampire, even though I've got a stake and all that stuff. I was just like, oh, thank God, okay. And then now, I know that Dracula is in Spain. The important thing in this situation is I mustn't overcommit. I've got to keep thinking about, no, Dracula's going to leave Spain eventually. I have to be in optimal position. I'm moving Van Helsing forward a little bit here, just so I can see kind of the direction where Dracula's going. And other bats. So I'm actually really happy in this situation. That's both bats gone. So I don't have to worry about them later. I know Dracula hasn't gone to Bordeaux, so it's still in Spain. So I'm moving forward here with Mina, because I don't want to be supplying right now. I've got all the stuff I kind of need. I'm just doing this just to put a little bit of pressure on Drac, because Seward's going to get delayed and pushed away. Van Helsing's going to get delayed and pushed away. Fortunately, there's no layers to push them into. I'm doing that just because, like, right now, Mina's the one who's going to have to be moving forward. So she's kind of ready to do that. So Mina can start mopping up these last encounters which are left, and then Seward and Van Helsing can retreat. Hopefully, that's the plan anyway, and then be ready for when Dracula goes to sea, and I can go in whatever direction is necessary, stock up and keep supplying, all that sort of stuff. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, pushing me as far back as possible, because it doesn't want to reveal any of my other locations. So that could have been really bad, but I decided to pull the trigger on the Renewed Vigor earlier, not to wait until the Rumour token was, in the final space of the trail. Now, in hindsight, that wasn't a good play either. I've wasted one of my really, the best card in the game, but I think I remember now at this point, I do start to relax a bit more. It's like, okay, I don't have to rush to find this Rumour token. It was only a bat. Santander was cleared as a bat. So there's only now 2 more encounters to get. Dracula's now going to sea as well. So immediately my brain is now switching into different gear. Right. Mina can deal with these last 2 encounters, hopefully. We'll see what happens. Now, all I do is sit on ports, or sit in central locations like Paris or whatever, and wait for Dracula to land. I'm not going to start over-committing to one side of the map or either until I know kind of what direction Dracula's gone in. Now, the important thing I need to work out here is I need to work out what port Dracula's left from. Has Dracula left from Alicante, so it's in Mediterranean now, or is left from Lisbon or Cadiz, and it's in the South Atlantic? And that's really important. But now here's the thing, because I didn't use hypnosis earlier, I have hypnosis, even though Dracula knows I have hypnosis, because it's revealed, sadly. I have it. So as soon as Dracula lands from the sea, I can pull the trigger with Speedy Telegraph, and then everyone else can charge after him. I'm going to check Madrid, probably. Because then that'll tell me... Well, it does actually tell me what port he left on, because he could have gone to Cadiz. No, Madrid's the right play. Go to Madrid. No. Okay, so this is actually really important. Because he didn't go to Madrid, this tells me that Alicante is impossible. So then it's Lisbon, and then Cadiz, or hide in Lisbon. So both ways, doesn't matter. Dracula's in South Atlantic. Now, it's really annoying that Mina's the one who's far forward, because Mina should be the one getting ready to set up Hypnosis. But it is what it is. I can't plan exactly who falls on what encounter. So we're just going to have to make the best of it. But it's fine, because it gives me time with the others, stock up, supply, try and get the final white one, all that sort of stuff. If need be, then what I could do is move... And I got the final white one, yes. So now I'm happy. Now I can move around with a little bit more freedom. I don't have to put loads of tickets back into the supply and then roll, you know, with a 1 in 10 or 1 in 11 chance of rolling a white one. Now I can just keep rolling, and the horses will never fail, which is nice. I'm constantly, if you notice, I'm constantly flickering between the hunters. I'm trying to work out who has what items, who has what events, just so I can start planning it in my mind what's going on. So with Godalming here, there's a couple of things I could do. I could move on to Marseille, so I'm on the Mediterranean port, or I could go to Paris, so then I'm kind of close to the UK. If I need to quickly get across, or I could just stay in Brussels. I can't remember why I moved to Paris. Yep, that sounds fine. That's okay. I think that's fine. Seward should go... Okay, I think the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm going to let Seward deal with the stuff in Spain, because he has the lucky find, and he has that. He has a stake. He can deal with these two things in Spain, and maybe I assume now Mina's going to leave. That's my gut feeling. Okay, a knife. That's pretty good. Can't remember what I do here. Right, okay, so the reason why I do this is because Van Helsing is not as critical if Van Helsing gets bitten, because he can take an extra bite. So having an anti-fang item isn't as critical, but I'll take the anti-claw item because Van Helsing is more susceptible to claws because he has lower health pool. Okay, that's a little bit of a shame, but it is what it is. So I can just get them up to meet a trade. Now, in hindsight, that's actually a bad move. I should have moved to Santander, because then if she rolled fast horses badly again, she could at least get to Bordeaux. Now she can't get to Bordeaux this turn. Next turn, rather. If she rolls slowly. Okay, improving horse economy. Good, 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 good. So if I'm trying to remember back to how this went, I was definitely flustered, which is why I used the renewed vigor. That's not normally how I like to use renewed vigor, but now I'm a little bit more calm at this point. I've only got 2 encounters to deal with. Dracula's at sea, taking damage. I can just sit, supply. Van Helsing. Godalming's going to get an event this turn. Hopefully, good stuff. Right, Dracula's landed. So immediately then, Brain then again shifts into gear. Where could Dracula be? Dracula could have gone to Mediterranean, so that's a Cagliari. Can I get rid of this screen maybe? So you can see the map a little bit better. Right, okay, so there's not many locations that Dracula could be from this, because Dracula's only moved 2 sea spaces. So Dracula could be in 36, or it could be in one of the Mediterranean ports in Spain, but that'd be suicidal. The reason why is because then Dracula would be trapped here with 2 hunters in Spain and 2 on the rail line going into Spain. So that'd be ridiculous move to have done that. Could be in Marseille, hoping then to trap maybe a hunter in Fog and then Wolf forms out. Could be in Cagliari, or could be in Galway from the North Atlantic. Or it could also be in Nantes. But then again, with so many hunters close by, that'd be pretty stupid. So Cagliari is the most likely candidate here, so I have to think, right, okay, he's probably in Cagliari, someone needs to go after him to do that, and so on. So I'm already trying to think also in advance as well. Dracula can't stay on Cagliari forever. Maximum Dracula can stay there is probably 2 more moves. hide and feed. Probably wouldn't dark hole. So I'm having to think, right, when do I start moving across? Because Dracula can only move east from here, because the Mediterranean's on the trail. So Dracula's only going to be heading east, so I have to start thinking, right, I need to start moving hunters preemptively east, but not too far east, so then Dracula lands in, say, Genoa, then Wolf forms back the opposite direction. I've got to be always thinking to try and cover both sides. Anyway, I've still got two things in Spain to deal with, so that's immediate priority, and start sorting out. I think supplying here is fine, because I'm getting good stuff. Ditching the stake, just because right now I haven't seen many vampires, and also I get Jonathan Harker, so I'm just going to instantly search Cagliari. Let's just see if Dracula's there. Cool, he is. So that means now hide is useless, because you can't put down an encounter. Sword's going to go and deal with Spain, and I'm totally fine with this. He's got the stake, so he can deal with it. If need be, there's no vampire here, I can maybe use the stake on Vampire Lair. And there's also something else I do have. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'm going to go into combat here. Now, the question is, what do I do? I'm immediately thrown into a choice. Do I try to escape this vampire and then kill it with a stake? Or do I try to kill it in combat with either some sort of combination of like punch and heavenly host, or punch and pistol then punch again? I think if I remember correctly how I'm playing this combat is I'm just waiting and seeing. Okay, so plotting doesn't get triggered, so I do 1 damage immediately, so that's pretty good. I can't afford Seward to lose a lot of health because I've got to deal with Kadif. And if that's another vampire, I don't want to get caught in a really awkward fight. So I think, if I remember correctly in this combat, I'm just trying to sort of... I don't want to commit to the Heavenly Host, because I don't want to get bitten and lose stuff, and then I'm going to lose a point because of the the Fang attack as well. And losing a Heavenly Host, I've got Consecrated Ground, I might need it. Especially if there's a Desecrated Soil around, I might need it. So I'm just trying to see what happens here. Okay, so Dracula uses Strength, so the pistol doesn't work. Yeah, sorry, I'm a little bit like frenzied with the combat information screen. I keep going backwards and forwards to it, even if there's no new information. So I've got a few different options. Do I Holy Circle out? Do I escape? There's loads of things I could do. And you see it that I'm hovering on Heavenly Host, like, do I play Heavenly Host or not? I've got the stake, so I can deal with this vampire with a stake. You see, I'm a little bit indecisive. I'm just trying to work out what's worth. I'm playing the punch here because expecting he might think I'm going to escape. The fact I showed him pistol last round probably thinks I'm not going to escape. I'm going to try and kill this vampire immediately. Look at it, I've got the Holy Circle kind of in my hand, inflating my combat strength. Okay, that worked out in the end. So I did actually get the punch off. Now, I can still now try and kill with pistol. The thing is, Dracula knows I have a pistol. So, is Dracula going to let me do that? That's the question. But I have no other weapon, so... I don't even have a garlic or anything, so I haven't got much of a choice. I have a sneaky suspicion here that the vampire is going to try to strength me again, so I'm going to use dodge. Or he played fangs, so the result there would have been, if I played pistol, the vampire would have been left on 2 health, and Dracula would have gotten another point out of it, so I think that was worth it. I'm just constantly looking, seeing what has Dracula played, what order, just trying to work out, right, he's got 1 of everything left, 1 strength, 1 mesmerize, 1 fangs, 2 claws, but I don't really give a shit about claws. So I'm trying to work out here, do I play the pistol to try and kill the vampire? Do I try to escape? Hmm. Until I'm really thinking about it a lot. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna try and go for the pistol, just in case. And the fact I've waited so long, Dracula might think I'm trying to do something else. So he might try and claw me, maybe. Unlikely. Pistol's not great for this situation, sadly. Let's see. I can't remember what Dracula does here. Okay, I mesmerize. Makes perfect sense. It blocks pretty much everything I can do, unless I use a Heavenly Host. So I could have used Heavenly Host by now, and I would have killed this vampire. But I didn't want to. So I'm just going to dodge. I'm really happy though. I've only taken 2 damage, so Seward can deal with that. 7 health is a decent amount. So I can stake this vampire at night and just kill it. Just even though I've got the vampire lair, who cares? Just kill the vampire. Don't ever don't prioritize vampire lair over the vampire here. Just kill the vampire with a stake. Vampire lair can wait. You can trade vampire lair to somebody else who has a stake later. Just kill the vampire. If it has to be with a stake, it's with a stake. So here's a fangs. Oh no, it's a claws. Okay. But knowing the fact I'd use pistol up, that makes perfect sense why I'd use claws now. So that's okay. We took 2 damage each. I'll just kill it with a stake. Job done. And I've got, I've got then a day to supply if I want to before I move into Cadiz. Moving to Marseille here, that makes sense because I assume, well, it's closer to where I need to go anyway. If I'm going eastward, having to go via Marseille is good. Mina should roll a 2, does. Go to Marseille. Someone's gonna have to do a Cagliari. I can't remember who will deal with it eventually. It might be Seward. Don't remember. Kadami has better items, I'm happy with that. I'm going to search to stake the vampire. So I don't have to worry about that. I've got 3 stakes. Oh, I've got all the stakes in the discard pile. That is a problem. But I am close to finishing the item deck, so I can hopefully try and get another one back at some point. So now in retrospect, maybe Kadami should have held on to a stake. But I'm kind of thinking, well, if Dracula's going to be on the run, maybe, just maybe, I won't need the stake. The fact that there's a vampire in a lair means that's 1 fewer. So we've seen 1 reckless and a new vampire and an aristocratic matured. But we have no idea what happened after that aristocratic, because 3 things got cleared from the trail. It could have been all vampires of all we know. We have no idea. The discard pile doesn't tell us. I can still let 1 vampire mature. Obviously, if it has a rumor token, I can't. The good thing is Cagliari can't get a rumor token because Dracula's at sea. I assume Dracula's going to move again. Right, I'm doing that so I can get closer to the east, am I? Yeah, well, okay, I'm going to 41. More or less the same. So, Seward will just go and do a Cadiz immediately. And we'll see what it is. I actually can't remember what it is. Okay, right. Little pro tip to Dracula players out there. Don't ambush. The reason why is because if, in this situation, it is bad for Seward to be trapped there, but Seward loses the night action, but immediately, when it turns to dusk now, the fog will disappear. Well, 1 fog will disappear. If I had waited for me to search, yeah, I wouldn't have got the delay effect, but I would have been trapped in the fog a day longer. So actually, it's worse for Dracula. In that situation, you don't need fog for protection, so don't ambush. Just let the hunter search. Okay, so it seems like here at this point, I've decided that I'll let Mina do a Cagliari. What am I doing? Now, you might think, why didn't I go to Munich? If Dracula's heading east, surely you should move Van Helsing to Munich, so you're closer to the east, and that's true. But I don't know yet where Dracula's going. I don't want to overcommit very far this way, and Dracula could be really sneaky and go Ionian Adriatic and land back in Italy. I need to stay somewhat close to Italy that I can get there if I need be. And also, now that I'm on the port, I could also go across the Adriatic to Verona if Dracula lands there. So I don't have to, you know. I'm further away from the east. I'm on a rail line, so I could use the rail line to get there if need be, if I get a decent ticket. But also the fact I'm sort of covering the southern bit of Italy just in case Dracula decides to be sneaky and lands there. And I can try and punish, or at least deter Dracula from doing that. I've got time to do a Cagliari, so I'm just going to do that, and I get excellent weather, so that makes it much easier. I can use excellent weather to get to Cagliari and then get off again. Or I can go to Cagliari normally, and then use excellent weather to get off. We can decide. I think I'm counting horse economy, or am I counting events? I think I might be counting events, I think, if I remember rightly. Okay. Not trying to get tickets because it might ruin my horse economy. So I've got a couple of bad tickets in there, but they're mostly flooded with good ones. So I can't use the vampire lair right now, but if I'm able to catch Dracula before anything else matures, then it doesn't matter. Okay, Dracula's moved my sea again, so oh no, never mind. Never mind. Dracula wolf formed. So the cool thing with this is, from Turinian, there are not many wolf form locations. Because I'm blocking Marseille, this was actually kind of important. If I had moved Mina off, then Marseille would have been left open. But because Marseille, Mina's sitting here in Marseille, can't be in Marseille right now. So there's only a couple of options. Venice is blocked. There's also probably now another reason why I blocked Venice, is to stop this wolf form. So Dracula can only be in Milan, in Genoa, or anywhere in Italy, or Bari is the most likely candidate. So I've got Van Helsing here, so Van Helsing can check out Bari potentially. Godalming can then start heading east in sort of, you know, in expectation that Dracula's going to go there. If Dracula lands in Venice, then I might be able to then get Godalming and Van Helsing then when Seward leaves the fog, and we can kind of trap him. And then moving into Central Europe, there's loads of places where Dracula can go. But it's used up wolf form, and that's really good for me. I don't have to worry about wolf form anymore. I'm just checking Milan. I know I could check Milan with somebody else, but I'm just checking before I commit east. I want to just make sure that Van Helsing's not there. Van Helsing. Dracula's not there. I've got Surprise Return now, so that's really cool. I can use Jonathan Harker whenever I want. I'm going to move Van Helsing in down to Bari. Because I know, like, if it is Bari, Dracula's going to have to leave there eventually. I'm going to have time to get across to the east. I don't commit all the way east and then suddenly Dracula lands in Venice. I mean, just in case Dracula's doing something tricksy, I don't want to miss Milan. So the fact I got, yeah, maybe I got Surprising Return with Seward. Maybe I could have just. But I think I'm moving Van Helsing down in anticipation that it's Bari, so that Van Helsing can instantly jump onto Bari and deal with it. Mina can do a Cagliari, and there's nothing on the trail then. And then Godalming can start heading off Dracula going east. So yeah, again, the move to Milan is not a very good move. But then imagine if Dracula had gone to Milan, and I jumped straight past him to go east or to go down to the tip. And I wasn't to know I was going to get Surprising Return with Seward. Okay, Dracula instantly leaves because Dracula's fearing Van Helsing jumping on him. Also, because of the timing of the sea spaces, Dracula can't go from Adriatic to Ionian back to Turinian. So, I know that Dracula's going to have to go to Ionian. Maybe Black Sea. Or might just land instantly in Verona. So thankfully now Seward is clear of the fog. am I doing this? Just do a Bari, unless Mina's going to do a Bari. I wasted too many turns there with Van Helsing. I shouldn't have moved down, but then I think I'm kind of happy because maybe moving Van Helsing so close might have forced Dracula off earlier. So that's maybe a good thing. I'm not sure. Van Helsing has a ticket, so he can get into... What was that city? Budapest. Space 11 tomorrow. I haven't got chartered carriage now. Chartered carriage here would be really good because I could get from 57 all the way to like 6 in one turn. And then Dracula's in a load of trouble. So I guess Mina can go do a Bari. Yeah, I think I could have been a little bit more efficient with my moves. But then again, if I had renewed vigor, then I wouldn't have had this issue. I could have moved to Milan and then fast horses back in the other direction to 59. But that's okay. I've still got decent movement. I'm putting yellow 2s into the deck, so it means fast horses are going to be even more efficient. I've got 2 hunters going east, and that's where Dracula's going to have to go to. Dracula's going to have to either stay in the east for a long time, or is going to have to instantly go to Athens, or Salonika, and then go back to sea again. 1 fog's been used. So, does Dracula have the second one? Maybe, maybe not. The fact that Dracula left Spain so quickly makes me think that maybe he doesn't have second fog. Having planned ambush on... Okay, so the reason why I'm doing this is having planned ambush on Van Helsing is good. Having the lucky find, because I'm kind of already anticipating in my head, if I find Dracula, I might only have 1 chance to try and do enough damage before he goes to sea. So I am probably prepared to throw away my horses and then use lucky find to get another combat item. Because Seward is all the way in the west, is going to be doing a lot of supplying. Seward doesn't need the lucky find anymore. Okay, so Dracula's moved again. So we know that Dracula landed in 55. Because Van Helsing was in 57. So is now probably in Athens, but could also be Sophia. Sophia would be very risky. So is Godalming. I've got a decision to make. Do I just bomb into Athens? I think he's there. It's the most out of the way place. And he's not there. So that's really interesting. Dracula had a chance there. Van Helsing can't get there. So it'd only be Godalming. So Dracula had a really good chance to have a 1v1 with Godalming, but maybe didn't want to risk it because of the low health. So now, is Dracula in 46? Or in 50? The thing is, Van Helsing can't check 50 today. Okay, get rid of Holy Circle, that's fine because I'm not going to need it. So I'm going to 10 because from 10 I can very easily get to 50 or 46. Or even 56 next turn if Dracula's trying to go to the Black Sea coast. Also I could supply in 10 if I want to. Still not night supplying, by the way. You notice I'm not night supplying, I'm passing all my night actions. And the reason why is because I don't want to do any night supplies that will give Dracula a card that could potentially turn the whole game in Dracula's favor. I'm not in a great position here because I've used up things like renewed vigor, which would be really handy in this situation, using horses all the time. But I have a great strength. Dracula has 7 health. If I get into one good combat with him, there could be game over. I'm also looking. I can't remember. Is that Thursday? No, it's Thursday of week 3. So I'm also kind of thinking, right, if Dracula is able to escape here, Dracula might just be able to run out the clock. So finding a stake is also really critical to get Vampire Lair to buy myself an extra day. Dracula could have hidden in 46. Could have gone 50-46, 46-50. Trying to wait out the clock for when Ione and Tyrrhenian come back, and then could go back to Cagliari and then hide to win. It's all about timing, just trying to get to the end of the 3rd week, so then you can just land to win in the 4th week and just with a hide or something. So now Godami's on the move again. Trying to see, did Dracula go to 50? Didn't. Dracula did not go to 50. Now, this is very interesting because there are 3 spaces on the trail. So that means Dracula has either gone 55, 46, and then hidden in 46, or hidden Valona before going to 46, or has gone 55, hide, and then moved to 49. So right now I know Dracula's either in 46 or 49. You can see that I moved the game cursor. I'm trying to work that out. I'm getting nothing but Dracula events, so Van Helsing's going to have to move. I'm going to 55 because I want to ascertain, did Dracula hide in 55? Or not? Hid, so now I know Dracula's either in 46 right now or 49 right now. Let's see. Wolves, not great, but at least I've got 1 rifle. All depends on what the hide card is. Oh, 2 wolves. So, I mean, I can see why Dracula ambushed now, because there's a chance that if Dracula doesn't ambush at this moment, I'm not going to search this at night, because I don't want anything that might delay me. So, ambushing here, I think, is the right thing to do. I'm going to heal up 1 of those at night. Fortunately, I've got escape route and I've got planned ambush for Van Helsing. So taking that 4 damage, even though it's not great, is manageable. And then I see this. The second fog has appeared. So now I immediately know that Dracula, if Dracula's in 46, Dracula cannot stay there because there's no fog for protection anymore. So then I realize that 46, if Dracula even tries to do anything crazy, like hide, well no, hide's on the trails, that's impossible. Feed, I'm going straight into 46. And again, Dracula should have waited and not ambushed, but that's okay. That's alright. Because Mina would have been stuck there a day longer. Just pass, pass, pass. Do not night supply. You don't want to do anything that might jeopardize this game. This game's in a bit of a tentative spot. I've got to try and make this opportunity count. It all depends on what Dracula does. Dracula's not on... Health is medium. Still got to be a bit careful, because if Dracula goes to see a couple of more turns, it's only on 4 health. It only takes 1 combat, I can kill Dracula from 4 health. Or I've got a heroic leap or something. So it all depends on what Dracula does here. Does Dracula go to sea or not? You see with the mouse, I'm trying to work out in terms of like timings. Dracula moved. Sorry, I wish I could get rid of this title every time I pause. Right, so Dracula moved. So it means it can't be in 46. Dracula is on land and has gone to 49. And is now either moved to 59 or has gone to 6. Intriguing. And now I wish that Steward was slightly further over, but doesn't have... doesn't have horses. Yeah, you play Speedy Telegraph here, right? Right. Okay. I think I'm trying to remember what happens. You're probably wondering, why on earth is Speedy Telegraph being played here? What possible advantage are you going to gain from Speedy Telegraph? I have two hunters which are in position and are potentially, but one of them might be beside Dracula, or they're both 2 spaces away from Dracula. But I need to work out which space it is. If I play Speedy Telegraph now, and I supply first with the 2 hunters which are out of position, there is a chance that I can get a card like Rufus Smith or Hired Scouts or something that might be able to narrow down their look, or even like an evil presence, and something which might tell me what the location is. So in a situation like this, where I feel like this is do or die, this is my opportunity to catch Dracula, I will play the Speedy Telegraph, because I cannot foresee any other situation where it's going to be useful. You see, I'm immediately going to Seward. I know there's a Dracula event on top, but I just have to hope that there's a Hunter card under it. And there is. So let's see what Mina gets. And I get Rufus Smith. Now, really, my odds should have been much better getting Hired Scouts, because there's 4 of them in the deck, and I've had none of them. But I'll take a Rufus Smith. And I'm totally searching this. Right. So Dracula can only be in 6. He's in Belgrade, and I know it instantly. So now I'm going to try and get both of my hunters there. Wow, all the allies have come out today. And that's fine with me, because you're hitting the hunter who has the most health, so I can easily tank 2. Now let's see if Van Helsing can roll well to get into this fight. I have to go for it. I have to try it. And I made it. So a situation like this, playing Plan Ambush for certain. Lucky Find, I think I'll probably ditch the Lucky Find or get rid of the horse to try and get something out. There's no reason not to. Let's see what I've got. Garlic, Steak, Rifle, Pistol, Garlic Reef. Not a great selection. But potentially another conventional weapon's good. Garlic could be good if I want to try and block a strength. The weird thing is with Garlic Reef, and again, I don't know if that's how it should be played, but if I picked Garlic Reef in this situation, I would technically have exceeded my item limit. But because I would tell the game to implement Garlic Reef immediately, I'm technically got 3 items, my Fast Horses, my Heavenly Hose, and my Rifle, plus Garlic Reef, and the Garlic Reef at the end of combat just disappears. I know that sounds weird, but that is actually how it works. At least that's how the digital edition implements it. Whether or not it's correct is a different matter. So I actually go for the Garlic Reef to protect me potentially from Heavenly Host. I know that Dracula's got very low health, so if he tries to fang me, then that's just going to doom him. I know this is the do or die fight. I have to try and kill Dracula now. I mean, obviously there might be a chance later, but if I can just get it done in one combat, then so much the better. I've got 2 weapons on Godalming, so if one gets broken, I don't mind. That's why I'm going for the pistol immediately. And then with Van Helsing, same thing. I'm just going to use up the pistol. Not using Heavenly Host yet, because Dracula's more likely to try and fang first turn if there's fangs available, thinking that I'm going to play Heavenly Host. If I got the Garlic Reef protecting me, that means Dracula takes even more damage. So that works for me. If he mesmerizes 1, then he's just gonna hit. He's gonna get hit for lots of damage from the other. I mean, maybe I should have ditched the Fast Horses to have another Rifle or a Garlic, but okay, that works for me. Oh, I forgot I had planned ambush. Classic Scot-sword. So I can actually see why he'd play Claws here, to get rid of the Garlic Reef and to get me down. Sorry, to get me down to 1 health. Dracula doesn't know that I've got great strength. So even then, that wouldn't stop it if I had another claw attack afterwards. But anyway, but I played the anti-card, the anti-claw card, so that works for me. I don't have to worry about Skipper's back here right now. I'm just trying to just do as much damage as possible. How do I do here? Should you just play? You should just play Knife and Heavily Host, because Dracula can't survive against those two things. Even if he fangs Van Helsing, the way it works is he would take the damage from Garlic Reef first, and then I get bitten. Oh, maybe I'm playing Punch here because I'm wondering that he's going to try and fang me, maybe, and just try and keep the Heavenly Host for a little bit longer. Other hunters might say, "Go, no, you should play Heavenly Host immediately." The thing with this is, even if Godalming's knife gets broken here, I will do 1 damage with Van Helsing, and then I can play double weapon the next turn, pistol and rifle, and Dracula can't survive against that. So I think I'm already trying to think ahead here, going like, do I need to play the Heavenly Host? No, the first round of combat went well for me. If he'd broken Van Helsing's rifle, then that changes things. But what I've worked out here is Dracula can't escape round 3 because of the spare tokens on the board. So if I can get him down to 2 health, then as long as I play rifle and pistol with my 2 hunters, even if Dracula fangs Godalming, will go up to 4 health, and then I do 4 damage back. So I'm trying to do it in a way where I don't jeopardize my my victory. I could, if I had remembered the way Garlic Reef works, I could just play Heavenly Host here, because the Garlic Reef would have done damage before I get bitten. Just because of the way all the cards interact with each other and the order. But never mind, I'm still playing it this way. Because I just realized that I don't need to play Heavenly Host to win. So I'm not going to try and jeopardize my win by potentially trying to fang, or trying to play Heavenly Host and then getting fanged. The Garlic Reef helps a lot here. Claws, but there's a knife. So Godalming takes 4 damage, potentially, and then that's GG. So yeah, not my finest display. I'm definitely not happy about it. Oh yeah, to the damage on Van Helsing. Not my proudest victory, but I definitely, if I remember now, remembering the game, I did panic a little bit playing the renewed vigor how I did. If I'd held that renewed vigor, all of this shenanigans going on in the east would have been avoided. I wouldn't have had to hedge my bets on getting Rufus Smith in a supply. I would have just played the renewed vigor, and then I could have checked Belgrade, because the one closest to me, and realized, oh, he's not in Belgrade, right? Okay, he must be in Zagreb, or the other way around. Dracula, was trying to be tricksy, maybe realizing that if he'd gone to sea again, there's a huge risk that someone else just jumps onto him with like Heroic Leap or something, or for Consecrated Ground or whatever. But it worked out. So yeah, that's it basically. So yeah, I think that. Sorry, I'm recording this late at night, so I'm a little bit tired. The learning outcomes from this are definitely a case of don't panic as hunters. If you don't find him, it's not the end of the world. Now the thing is, the kind of the irony in all this is I had Hypnosis and I never used it. Maybe in retrospect, instead of using Renewed Vigor, I should have maybe used Speedy Telegraph and Hypnosis combo to search, find out that Dracula was in Spain, and then I would have saved the Renewed Vigor, but then I wouldn't have had the Speedy Telegraph. And it all depends on like how you value these things. In the end, it all worked out. But I can definitely see an argument where people say, no. In Paris, you should have used the Hypnosis with Speedy Telegraph, and then you could have gone into Spain. But then, the issue with that, my counter argument would be, is then Dracula leaves and goes to sea. Then what? How do I find him again after that? the fact I was able to do it this way, okay, maybe I didn't have to use the renewed vigor. It wasn't critical to use renewed vigor then, the way it all panned out. But at least I knew when he left Spain to go by sea, hypnosis was there. So in case Dracula moved 3 sea moves, I would be able to know exactly where he was. Using the hypnosis play. And the fact he only moved 2 made the options a little bit different. You probably wouldn't go to Ireland because there's just a huge risk that you just get consecrated grounded. And that's a big problem. So Cagliari is the most likely spot to be. And it just so happened that I got, was it Jonathan Harker out at the right time. No hide scouts, but I got all the allies. Weird game. No newspaper reports either, by the way, at all. I don't know how many events had I got through. Let me just quickly circle back. Nope. Come on. 42. 33 cards out of the... Yeah, okay, that's a decent chunk of the deck. And I just reset the items. Yeah, that's a pretty decent way through the deck, actually. I don't know if that's on par for a normal performance. The way I normally view it is, I think actually I was probably a little bit undersupplied, I think. If it's taking me that long to get through the whole item deck, that's pretty bad, I think. Maybe it also depends. If you need supply, you'll just naturally supply more. If you think you don't need a supply, then you will actually move around a bit more. So it just kind of depends on the situation. So I think holding onto the hypnosis was good, but I didn't have to use it in the end because Dracula moved by sea in a way that was very choreographed and very telegraphed rather. That's not choreographed. In a sense, it was like, well, once I found out he was on Cagliari, then I know then Dracula could only go east, and the fact that Dracula only moved once and then wolf formed, well, sure, using hypnosis in that situation isn't going to be useful because it's only going to be Italy. So just check Milan, rule that out, sort of threaten Bari, and Dracula left immediately. Unfortunately, there's the second fog there. If fog had been saved, and then Dracula had gone to somewhere like Salonika and thrown fog, I had no forewarned. You saw that. I didn't have forewarned there. But Dracula didn't know that I didn't have forewarned. That's the thing, is all that sort of game of cat and mouse, right? Dracula's trying to guess what cards I have, and I'm trying to work out, well, what encounters is Dracula going to put, where is Dracula likely to go. So Dracula tried to be sneaky there and go and land. I'm not quite sure what the idea was. Maybe potentially head to the castle. This is Friday. So Dracula, is it Friday, right? I think so. Is it going to tell me if I go back far enough? I hope so. I can't see, it's in the top left. Oh, Saturday. So Dracula had to move twice more, and then Fear Dracula would kick in. So basically, Dracula needed to make 4 more moves. So from Belgrade, potentially would go somewhere like 28. Could go to the castle. Then if there's consecrated ground, I could block 10 and surround all the others. Unless Dracula's thinking of maybe going to Bucharest and then Constanta, hoping that I jump past, thinking that Dracula's going to go to the center of the map. The fortunate thing is wolf form is still on the trail at this point, so I can't wolf form from Belgrade. The bad thing would have been if I allowed escape as Bat has happened from this combat, and then makes 1 move and then wolf forms. I would have lost then. I don't have the time, and in fact, lucky fine, I threw away at least 1 stake. I would only have a chance if I was going to use Vampire Lair. The problem is, if Seward is sitting here using Vampire Lair, especially if Dracula managed to go westward, obviously if Dracula stays east, then it doesn't matter what Seward is doing, Seward can just supply all day. But if Dracula goes west, Seward has to move, and if Seward's moving, he can't use Vampire Lair. So that's a bit of a problem. So I would have had to trade that around to maybe somebody like Van Helsing, but then Van Helsing needs to get to a big city to get a stake, and then you start seeing the problems that Hunters can get into. So I was actually not far away from losing, I don't think. Those 7 points at the beginning actually really... If these 7 points didn't exist, then I'd have way more time to catch Dracula, so I would have not been panicking in the same way. But fortunately, Dracula moved in a way that was very telegraphed where he was going. I don't know if that was because of strategy, if that was like Dracula's intention, or it was because Dracula knew that I had hypnosis, so Dracula didn't bother to move in a way that would then force me to use hypnosis. But I think in that situation, I think you would still force the hunters to use hypnosis, but then you have to think, right, what's my plan after that? I think in that situation, what I would do, I think, I'm not certain, is maybe go from South Atlantic to Turinian. So you've moved 3 sea spaces, and then you can do something like a wolf form to 57 or whatever. Force the hunters to use hypnosis, and then you start moving around. If you start going around in this direction, go to the UK, there's 2 legs of consecrated ground. Tricky. It's hard to know. I don't know. I don't know what Dracula was thinking in this situation. All I know is what was going through my head, and yep, held hypnosis in case I needed it, but in the end I didn't, and also the fact that Mina was kind of out of position a little bit, but I actually didn't mind her being out of position because Dracula was moving in a way that I knew where he was going, so I didn't need to use the hypnosis. In another situation, Mina couldn't have gone to Cagliari, it had to be somebody else to go, so then she could use hypnosis. So it all kind of worked out, but in a very kind of like bumbled kind of way. It definitely wasn't the most efficient performance, but that's okay. I think when you're trying to control 4 characters at the same time and having to constantly think about who needs what event, and the order that all the encounters happen, and also in terms of, I can't remember when I played this, was it the weekend or in the evening? If I wasn't feeling great or tired or whatever, then naturally, then that also has a factor into things as well. Hopefully my commentary just now, it hasn't been too tired. I am feeling quite strained, so I'm going to stop in a minute. But that can affect a lot of things. So I think also that's a key message, but I don't think it's highlighted enough in a lot of these videos. Only play Fear of Dracula when you feel like up for it. I know it sounds a bit weird because like, it's a video game, but it is a game that requires a lot of concentration, and if you are feeling that a little bit tired, it can really affect your results. As a result, I don't really play much anymore on weekday nights, just because I just feel it that I'm not playing well enough, and I saw that sort of towards the end of spring last year when I was doing quite a lot of recordings. Most of them I lost just because when you come home at like 10 o'clock at night, you're not really up for it, so you don't play at your best. So as I suppress a yawn, sorry, this is not very good marketing, but well. But I think there's quite a lot of things here. I was trying to think constantly about who need what events. Trading the Lucky Find to Van Helsing, was it really critical? Well, maybe. If I didn't have the Garlic Breeze, then Dracula might not have played the combat the way he did. Trying to think, right, I had the Vampire Lair, but then not being afraid to burn the stake on a vampire. Like, killing the vampire is more critical than using the stake for Vampire Lair. So let's just deal with the immediate threat. Kill the vampire. Again, in retrospect, I could have killed the vampire with Heavenly Host if I'd just been a little bit braver, and then used the stake on Vampire Lair. But I've had situations in the past where I've tried to kill vampires with Heavenly Host, and then it fails, and then you lose the Heavenly Host, you're bitten to reveal more stuff, and then you have to try and think about killing the vampire a second time with a stake, or maybe not with a stake. I've had it worse where I've had no stakes at all. Or imagine, in a situation like this, where instead of having Folg in Kadif, it was Desecrated Soil, and I'd burned the Heavenly Host. Now there's a Desecrated Soil that is guaranteed to mature. And then, Kadif had fallen off the trail by this point, so then Dracula gets 3 health back, so Dracula goes into this fight with 10 health, not 7, or whatever it was. That could be the difference between winning or losing, and you just don't know until you walk onto these locations. You don't know what you're going to get, so just be adaptable. Don't if you formulate a plan in your head, I always say go with your gut instinct, but at the same time, like, be prepared to change the plan. I had the plan to use the stake for Vampire Lair, but I suddenly realized, oh crap, I've got a vampire to deal with. Just use the stake for the vampire. It's fine. Be adaptable. That's kind of like, I realize it's a bit of a contradiction. Trust your gut instinct, but also be adaptable. They don't They don't sound like, things that go together, but I think they do. If your gut instinct says to change the plan, then change the plan. That's the learning point from this. And yeah, just don't overcommit. I didn't overcommit Godalming over here. Fortunately, because of the bats, Seward and Van Helsing got pushed back. But I was like, right, okay, let's do it this way. Seward goes to deal with everything. Mina moves back because I thought I was going to have to pay Hypnosis. But in the end, I didn't have to pay Hypnosis. But Mina was there, ready and waiting if I had to play Hypnosis. So I had her there just in case. So that's fine. Didn't commit to Spain. I mean, the fact that Dracula left Spain quite early was good for me. Didn't commit a huge amount into Italy either. I did a little bit. I was a little bit indecisive about, does Van Helsing move to Florence or not? He moved to Florence, but then had to backtrack again, which was not ideal. So maybe in the future, I'd say don't do that. And if Dracula waits one more turn in Bari, okay, well, so what? I think it's fine. But it all worked out in the end. The fact that Dracula tried to be a little bit sneaky and not go back to sea and tried to come inland to trick me, but managed to all work out. So yeah, and sometimes the event deck ruined me with no newspaper, but in the end it came good. I got Rufus Smith just at the very, very second. So using a speedy telegraph like that can be really effective. You just might just get that one little event that you need, and that'll turn the game. You just never know. I needed anything here. Hired Scouts, and there are 4 of them in the deck. Rufus Smith, what else? Local Rumors would have done it. Oh, actually, no, Local Rumors no, because it was Seward and Mina supplying. But Evil Presence would have done it. So that's 7 cards in the deck out of 43 at the time. I mean, obviously not amazing odds, but that's okay, and sometimes that can happen. So that would have worked. I don't know what would have happened if I didn't discover it with Rufus Smith. Would I have gone to Belgrade or gone to Zagreb? I think my gut instinct tells me I would have gone to Zagreb. That would have been worse for me. But at the same time, unless I checked Belgrade first, and if it wasn't Belgrade, then I could move Van Helsing to 49. And then use it, and I can jump ahead, maybe? I'm not sure. I don't know what I would have done. But fortunately, it all worked out, so I didn't have to think of that decision. But yeah, I think, given the time of the match that it was, also, fast horses weren't rolling perfectly for me. So what it takes is one fast horse roll to go badly here, end up in a 1v1. I think in that situation, I actually moved Godalming first, and the reason why I moved Godalming first is if... I know I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known if Van Helsing's roll would have been good enough. Yes, I can't try to roll then trade on the same moves. And actually, no, it doesn't actually make a difference. I guess I might have been thinking if Van Helsing wasn't going to move in, I could have traded the planned ambush or the escape route. But I think you just have to try and go for the 2v1. 1v1 combats are just recipes for disaster, especially the fact I had no lucky find. I would have had to trade both the lucky find and the planned ambush, but then Godalming might not have killed him. He would then be without a horse in a location in the map with no horse. It's tricky. So that's maybe why with Van Helsing I opted for the Garlic Reef as well, just in case something goes really badly wrong. I have horses, so I have more flexibility in my movement, even though Dracula can only move 1 space. I got a bit more flexibility in my movement, just in case. You never know. But anyway, so hopefully this has been useful. It's been a bit weird watching my matches back. Some strange decisions going on, but managed to recover it. They weren't big enough errors that the game snowballed out of control, and that's kind of like a really important thing too. If something bad goes wrong, like a hunter dies, or use a card inefficiently, or a vampire matures or whatever, don't then just suddenly, make reckless choices, because that's when things go wrong. I see that a lot of times with hunter players, where then one thing goes wrong and they're like, oh crap, I need to remedy this, and then they just dive in with another hunter, die. Dive in with another hunter, die. They start prioritizing the wrong things, more things start maturing, so then the whole thing just becomes this massive ball that you can't control. You just have to try to limit everything, and that's why I was kind of happy. Apart from the first initial vampire, once I found Dracula, there was never a build-up of encounters. It also helped that Dracula was going by sea. but there's no trail to deal with. So then I could just, or like even at the end here, all I could do was just focus on Dracula. I didn't have to worry about the encounters so much. Just by pure chance, I jumped onto Valona, and I found the hide, and that cleared 2 things off the trail. But, you know, if this game had carried on, say, one more turn, I wouldn't have worried about this rumor token, because, you know, this rumor token is not the thing that wins or loses the game. What wins or loses the game is me finding Dracula and landing on Dracula's space, so that's then the priority then. So sometimes you have to realize when to switch focus. It just depends. But yeah, don't panic. If things go wrong, just stay calm, just prioritize being supplied up, dealing with the encounters, and then dealing with Dracula. If you all try to jump on Dracula too early and it fails, or you don't get the horse rolls or whatever, then things start maturing. Things at the sort of the back of the trail, they start maturing, and then really bad stuff could happen just depending on what they are. So it's just, you need to know when to flick the switch to go for it, but that often happens. With practice, it will happen. You'll just know, right, now we don't have to worry about the encounter. We have to go and get Dracula now, because Dracula could be on a port, or Dracula could be here, or whatever. So yeah. Sorry, losing my voice. Hopefully that's coherent. I don't know if it is or not. Please leave your comments in the description to let me know if it's coherent or not, and hopefully this is being useful. So as I said, there are 3 episodes in this series for the Hunters. So this is the 3rd one that you've seen, and then there's going to be 3 with Dracula. So I can't remember exactly how I'm organizing all of these uploads. You might have seen some of the Dracula games already, or maybe not seen any of the Dracula games yet. But I hope you enjoyed this series and hopefully it's useful. I do find it very hard actually to. I thought at the beginning I was like, oh yeah, I'll totally do all this like more analytical gameplay. But the problem is I find, especially as Hunters and even as Dracula, I get very emotional when I play. And I noticed it with episode 1 of the Hunters. I started being really analytical, but then by the time I got to like mid game and things started falling apart a little bit, instinct just kind of kicked in. I just stopped talking, and I'd be more, instead of explaining why I'm moving here, with no explanation as to why I was moving to a certain location. So it's actually a really tough one. I am wondering at some point if I can maybe, now that we've got some more people in the community who are doing uploads, maybe I could do like some sort of like coaching type video, or like reacting to other people's gameplay. That for me might be interesting, but I don't want to be going around critiquing everyone else's gameplay for the sake of it. So that's why I decided to try to critique my own gameplay. I think watching back your own gameplay is really useful, so you can see where your flaws are. But anyway, I'm going to stop this video and go to bed before I fall asleep in front of the camera. But hopefully you enjoyed it. Please leave a like and a comment if you did, and I'll see you in the next episode very, very soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.